Well, good morning on this Monday morning as we prepare for our week ahead of us and we prepare for a weather event by the end of the week. Want to welcome you to the Daily Dose of Hope. We've been doing this now for 11 months, and it's hard to believe that we're closing in on a whole year of COVID-related issues. I was reading through the headlines this last weekend, and I came across a couple of very interesting things. First of all, I saw something. I saw two things. Both were very depressing, and one was the idea that the UK strain of the vaccine is doubling every 10 days in the United States. And they are projecting it to be the main problem we're going to face in March. I don't know where they get their numbers. It's frustrating to read that. But something else that I read over the weekend, and I'm going to refer to something that I know many of you may not be familiar with, but last year, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion released a song that came under a lot of controversy. First of all, the actual title of the song is not something that I'm going to say here on the air. In fact, they abbreviated it, and the song is mostly and widely known by its abbreviation simply because of how the title goes. But what I thought was interesting is the content of the song is extremely profane in the way that we would understand it. It's very explicit in a lot of things. And I read an article because Cardi B was responding to the backlash that she has received as a result of the song. And there was something interesting that came up in what she said. She talked about how she didn't completely understand the backlash. She assumed the backlash was a political response, that while she has received quite a few religious comments in backlash to the song, she says she, in recent days, has been receiving much more politically charged responses going on because she's supported Joe Biden. And I just find it interesting because when she went on to explain in this article her background, and she said, I don't really, it's not a big deal. This song, whether it's the lyrics or the song or whatever, this is just stuff I grew up with. I don't see this in the genre in which I have presented it to be anything out of the norm, anything that's weird or different. I grew up listening to this kind of thing, and so this is just a production that has been given. When asked if she would let her child listen or watch the video, she said absolutely not, because it's not a child-friendly video. It's an adult video. It's an adult kind of thing. And I find that interesting because she's trying to say, I wouldn't let my kids watch it. Let me tell you something. Our kids are going to find stuff on the internet. They're going to find YouTube. They're going to find it. They're going to find it out there. Our grandkids are going to find this stuff. It's going to be out there. And so my question is, if you wouldn't want your kid to watch it, why are you producing it? And you say, well, because I'm not producing for children's videos. I'm producing it for mature audiences. And this music video that's out there, it's out there on video, it's out there on YouTube, it's out there in a lot of different places and spaces, and the song is even being played widely on the radio. It's something that I find interesting because generational theory discusses this, that if your generation ignores something that's going on, or maybe you just you tolerate it, you deal with it, you don't stand up strong, or whatever it may be. If your generation, okay, I'll start with me. If I if I engage in an activity, and it may not be something that is, wrong necessarily, or horrible or bad, but if I ignore a behavior in my children and do nothing about it, boys will be boys. Oh, that's just kids. Oh, and we excuse it. And this happens a lot. There's a lot of excusing. Oh, that's just who they are. Or we excuse them. They grew up in a tough situation. Well, they grew up in poverty. Well, they grew up in a bad part of town. They grew up in difficult circumstances. If we excuse it, if I excuse it in the next generation, or I excuse it for the next generation, that generation is going to grow up and just begin accepting what's going on. So we've moved from generation one, that's me, I've just ignored it or I've excused it. And the next generation is going to grow up and they're going to embrace this. They're going to embrace this activity, behavior, thought pattern. They're going to embrace a morality. They're going to embrace certain choices, and they're going to act like everything is okay. Now, so we excused it. The next generation accepts it and just begins to engage in it. Third generation, so my grandkids have now normalized this action, behavior, wording, morality, or ethic, or anything of that nature. So what I excuse, or maybe I say it this way, don't do what I do, do what I tell you to do. What I have essentially done is I have set up the domino effect for the next generations. And I'm either going, and so by what I say or what I do, mostly what I do or what I don't do or what I allow to happen, I'm setting up the future generations. And we have to be careful about this kinds of thing. And so I was reading this article. It was disturbing to me because of what she was saying. Is like, this is just normal. I grew up in this lifestyle. I grew up surrounded by this kind of music, these kinds of lyrics, this kinds of thought pattern. It's no big deal to me. What was excused is now being engaged, and now it's going to be normalized in her children's lifetime. Also, this last week, as we were reading in our reading plan, I came across a verse, and it's in the middle of the Sermon on the Mount. It's in Matthew chapter 6, verses 22 and 23. Let me read them for you. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. So if the light within you is darkness, how deep is that darkness? Before you simply think that I'm going to rail against the culture, we have to first step back and realize we've created the culture in which we live. Oh, Pastor, no, I don't agree. I don't like this culture. I don't like what's going on. The reality simply is this: we're living in a time we've allowed. We're living in a normalized moment that we and our parents excused and then engaged, and now they're embracing as normal type behavior. But before we want to get all up in Cardi B's business and Megan Thee Stallion's issues, and we want to jump all over Hollywood and MTV and all these things, let's bring this home for just a moment. Because what Jesus says is the eye is the lamp of the body. What I am watching, I am digesting into my life. what I am watching and keeping an eye on, I'm creating this issue. It could be, I could be watching beautiful things, I could be watching negative things, but the eye is a lamp of the body. If it brings light, which is symbolic for purity, morality, biblical ethic, God, or am I bringing in darkness into my life, then what is that? How deep is that kind of darkness? Now, it would be super easy for us to just jump all over all the things we like to rail on as Baptists and as Christians, and we want to blame all these other things, when the reality is our lack of involvement, our excusing and ignoring, has created the culture that's embracing and normalizing and engaging in the activities. Because we excused it. Oh, well, But let's think about some other things. I don't watch that trash. I don't watch that trash. Okay, that may be what you don't watch. But there's some other things that can create problems in our life if we are watching them too much. Personally, you can, you're watching your money. Hey, I'm just trying to manage what I have. That's fine. But watching your money and obsessing over your money, two different things. You can create into the next generations an obsession with it that can be unhealthy. Do we need to manage and be good stewards of what we have? Absolutely. I encourage it. I teach it. I preach that. We need to be good stewards of what we have, and we need to properly manage what it is that we have. But there's a line that we can cross between stewarding something and obsessing over something. We can be so obsessed with it that we can become Scrooge, and that we can bah humbug everything and everybody because we have been overwhelmed by money. Jesus and the Bible would say later, the love of money is the root of all evil. This love, this greed, gotta control it. Now, which one are you watching? We ought to be careful. Maybe you're watching your weight. Hey, aren't we supposed to be healthy? I need to go to the gym, and I need to diet, and I need to exercise, and I need to take care of my body. No, the Bible says the body's a temple, and we need to take care of our body. Sure, I agree. I've had a running program, and I continue to watch what I eat. But you know what? If we obsess over this, you can create eating habits that are problems in the future generations. You can actually create a problem because it's becoming an obsession for them. See, we have to be careful that in the things that we want to manage and the things that I want to watch, I got to make sure how I'm going about watching those. Because am I creating darkness in the lives of those who come behind us? If all our kids and our grandkids ever see is our obsessions with money or weight or housing or toys or grown-up toys as well, whatever. If we obsess over these things, we're going to set up the next generations for failure, and we're going to create issues in their own. We're going to create body image issues because they're going to say, well, mama was never satisfied, and that's going to set up early in their life of what they're not satisfied with. And you can say, well, but I need to take, yeah, that's exactly right. But just be careful how it's being presented to the generations that follow you, because you could be setting up bad habits for them that come from a good heart and might even come from a good place. But we have to be careful of these kinds of things that we watch. Churches, as an organization, have to be careful about the things that we obsess about. Churches today are obsessed with three major things. We're obsessed with attendance, we're obsessed with buildings, and we're obsessed with cash. These are called the ABCs of current church methodology. That if it's not building, attendance, buildings, or cash, then why are we doing it? In fact, many times people are evaluated, ministries are evaluated, leaders are evaluated on attendance, buildings, and cash. And let me tell you something. What we have created over the generations, we have created issues and habits that are debilitating in our organizations. Our organizations are not being able to follow God in the way that He would like for us to, because we're not developing, we're not making disciples, we're not building people, we're trying to build buildings. And we try to think and believe, and I'm a product of this process and thinking that says, if you just attend more times, come to this program, come to this place, come to this moment, come to this, come to that, and you will somehow magically, automatically become a disciple of Jesus. Yes, they preached the gospel, and you would receive the gospel, and you would put faith in the gospel. But at the same time, following the gospel, there was no discipleship plan. It was all about attendance. And what have we set up? We've set up irrelevancy, and we've set up problems, and we've set up ourselves for failure, because coupled with this obsession with attendance is a society that's not. And so we as the church are going to have to, just like everybody else, what are we watching? What are we watching? It's not about TV and music videos. It's not about, but what comes in is going to come out. Sooner or later, what goes in is going to come out. So, we got to watch ourselves, don't we? Got to watch what we watch. We got to be careful, because our kids and our grandkids will be affected. So, whether it's the TV or the movies or the scales or the bank accounts or the buildings or the attendance ratios, the eye is the lamp of the body. What are you watching? It makes a huge difference. Let's begin to bring light, and bring light not only into our lives, but to be able to pass that light on to our kids and our grandkids. This is the challenge, isn't it? That as we follow Christ, we must be passing this on. What are we passing on? Let's think on those things today. You guys have a great day.